it's really the awakening of seeing what truly matters.
Okay, so first question, Tita Iza, is what do you do and or how would you describe yourself?
How would I describe myself? I am a human being, a woman, a loving, I try to be, wife, and sister. Maybe one day I hope to add mother to that. And I am an actress. And yeah, that's what I am. But I mean, apart from that, I'd like to think that I'm a health and wellness enthusiast and, body love or body acceptance advocate.
Yeah, that's actually a huge part of why I wanted to ask you to be part of this series. When I think about actual positive role models in my life when it comes to body image, self-confidence, I immediately thought of you. So I'm super happy to have you for this series.
Thank you.
So moving on from that, my next question for you is, what are you passionate about in life? This can be professionally, personally, just whatever first comes to mind.
What am I passionate about in life? Food.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
It's serious, huh? I am passionate about food. I think I am passionate about expressing myself. Hence, I guess that's probably why I got into this line of work, show business. I am passionate about dancing, which I would still relate to expressing myself, maybe just through movement. I am passionate about my loved ones. I mean, my family, the people that I care about. Things that I care about also would include, I think, nature. I'm still like baby steps there. We're both with WWF, but I always feel like I have to actually walk the talk. I feel like I need to do a lot more work for the environment for me to actually even deserve that title. And I am quite passionate about yes, body love. Yes, it's body acceptance, but the deeper, I think, the foundation of that and the root cause of that is really mental health, if you think about it. So I guess it just goes hand in hand. So I think those are the things that I'm passionate about.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. That was a fantastic response, because I think so much of what you care about and what you touched on in our conversation has to do with feminism, and not radical alt-left feminism, which I feel so many people in the Philippines, as soon as they hear someone say, oh, I'm a feminist, they think they have this association with not even with man-hating. And I think it's a stereotype that should definitely be corrected. And I think you're doing a great job of showing that, for women, our experience in the world is categorized by a lot of policing. I think there's a lot of, oh, you're not enough, or you're too much, or you should do this, but not so much that you're making everyone uncomfortable, or you should be less of yourself, more of yourself. And there are all these different expectations that society places on young women. And so what I wanted to touch on in our discussion today is how you've kind of navigated all these different influences in your life. And it's so nice to hear that you consider expressing yourself and mental health a passion in life. I think a lot of people just think it's something they need to take care of when they can, but to you, I think it's very central to who you are as a person. And I think that's really, really special.
Thank you, Nikki. Well, it is very central to who I am as a person, because I grew up with a mother who had mental health issues, and the impact of that is it's very strong. It stays with you, and that's why I guess it's very, very important to me and very close to my heart. I mean, admittedly, there are also personal things I go through, and I recognize that everyone goes through some kind of thing that they have to grapple with in their minds. You touched on feminism. So when I first got involved with this group called She Talks Asia, which is our women empowerment platform, it was a bit scary because when I think of feminism, that's how it was. Gabriela, all these like activists, and I felt like I'm not that. Like I don't see myself there. Maybe not. Maybe I'll get there. Maybe not. So I said I'm a baby feminist. I'm like feminist in progress. But if you think about it, I could still consider myself a feminist because I choose to empower women in this aspect of their life, which is again, as we talked about, is body acceptance.
What are your biggest challenges and how have you overcome them, or how are you overcoming them in the present moment?
I think as women, we are programmed and conditioned to be perfect, right? To be pretty, to be everything. We get so caught up in having to look good, like your weight, your physical appearance, your weight or your physical appearance can just hinder you from being your absolute best self, right? Because it can even yeah, you understand this, and you're at that age, Nikki. You are at that age when you're already everything, but really in your teens and in your 20s you waste too much time thinking about unnecessary things, and if I only knew, I would have enjoyed my youth a little more.
No, but that's actually so true. You make such an important point, because another woman in my life who has been such a mentor and a guiding figure to me, she said something when I was going through my own body image issues. I mean, you know how it is, Tita, especially growing up with such a spotlight on you. Everyone has a different idea of perfect, and everyone wants you so badly to fill that perception of perfection in their eyes. I think in a way also people kind of forget that we have a right to be our own people in the way that we see fit. But
yes.
so this girl or this woman, I should say, who again has been such a wonderful influence, told me that, Nikki, of course it is important to look good and to feel good, and you should always value your sense of health, power, and attractiveness and well-being. But
yes, why not?
Why not? Like, of course, it's great, as they say, like women should feel good for themselves. But she also told me, you're trying to be everything, and you need to think about, especially in your youth when you're figuring things out, how much time that you could have spent pursuing things, people, activities that you love if you hadn't been spending that time worried about your weight or the way you look or what you should and shouldn't be eating or who you should be looking good for. And that has stuck with me till this day. I think, it sounds like common sense, but every time I tell other girls in my life about it, they're all like, oh my God, that's so true.
We also have a lot of fear of judgment, right? Of being judged. I have been doing sessions with Sarah Black, model photographer, and she's also a yogi and a guru, I guess, since she's my guru. So we do these meditations and like self-discovery. I guess it's a path to awakening that I'm on right now, and we had this discussion because during my meditation something came up about fear of judgment, and then she said that her guru told her that where are you judging yourself from? How is that internal judgment a projection of how you think others are judging you? So basically a lot of judgment comes from self-loathing. So you have to catch yourself, like when you're judging others, perhaps it's because you judge yourself a lot. Wherever you're at in life, you just have to acknowledge it. And if, let's say you're at another one of those moments wherein you keep worrying about your weight at the moment, just catch yourself there. It's okay, and acknowledge it, that you are going through it, and just say, okay, time to bounce back. You know what to do. Just have these tools readily available for you, and I'm sure you have them.
This is something that I, whenever I sit down with the women who I admire who have made it in all these different industries and even just personally have grown so much and so well, I always like to ask them, what advice do you have for people my age, just young people in general, looking to pursue their dreams? And then I think also a good way of looking at it is what advice do you have for your 18-year-old self?
Nikki, to be honest, my 18-year-old self is far from who I am today. Also, like I had, not that I did not have a single dream or ambition. I was a party girl. And when I say that, that's all I did. I didn't do well in school. There was no drive, to achieve anything. And it took a really earth-shattering kind of experience to snap me out of that. And then, what it took was for my mom to leave this world for me to actually wake up and realize that, holy shiz. That's it. Like, whoops. What am I doing with my life? My advice for my 18-year-old self, or just for the younger version of myself, is don't worry. Hakuna Matata. It means no worries, right?
And that's so important.
Yeah, and when you're young, you worry about the tiniest things, the most minute things in life that really you think everybody cares about, or everybody will judge you about. But no, everyone actually is busy doing their own thing. So I think just no worries. You'll turn out okay. As long as you put in the work, and that includes work to achieve your dreams, but also inner work to address the things that you need to address inside of you, you'll be good. You'll turn out well.
I think that's fantastic advice, actually, because especially right now, we're in the middle of people my age, we're all growing up in a global pandemic. No one expected this to happen whatsoever. And so hearing someone like you say not to worry, especially about really minute things that truly seem so huge to us, but actually, especially at a time like this, everyone is just trying to survive and sort out their own life and make sure they're going to be okay. I think that's really important and really special.
Thank you. But of course, we have to acknowledge also that, when you have worries during a pandemic, it's also valid. It's okay. Completely okay. Like, don't judge yourself for being anxious. Because I myself, I go through things that I'm suddenly anxious about, new things. It's like, oh my God, what is this? This is all new. So when I feel that I'm going through something like that, I have to go back to gratitude. These are very interesting times wherein there's a lot of learning and I think reflections, and I think just a lot of growing up to do. I wonder what it's like. Nikki, what is it like for you? You're at that special golden age wherein, there's still so much ahead of you, and there's still so much ahead of me. I believe, but it's so different as a 20-year-old. What are your thoughts on this?
One thing that I've been thinking about a lot, actually, and I'm not just piggybacking off of your answer, but it's gratitude, for sure. Because I think, especially right now, we're all growing up with this very intense culture online of just hate and cancel culture and criticism, to the point that everyone thinks that. I think I like to look at the world and see and feel that most people have good intentions. Obviously, there are exceptions, but most people have good intentions. But I think we're just reaching a point where there's so much uncertainty, so much doubt. Everyone's going through such a hard time, but I think also what's not so great in social media, especially right now, is that a lot of different groups are making it hard for one another. And it breaks my heart to see that everyone or so many people feel like they can't even speak up about causes they care about because they won't do it in the correct way. Who's to say there's even a correct way? Everyone has their own way of expressing, and of showing love and support. And of course, like it's important to be politically correct. Like I am a complete advocate for that. But I just think right now that cancel culture and the lack of gratitude and cohesion in the world right now, it's hard. But it's why I'm inspired to do things like this. I want to show a bit more unity and hopefully inspire people. So yeah.
Just throw in some positivity into the mix. It's hard. I got canceled, Nikki. I don't know if you know that.
No, I didn't
Did you know that?
No, when?
Yes, Tita Iza got canceled before I got COVID. I got canceled online.
Wow.
So there was a post that Miss Leia Salonga made on COVID, and it was from somebody who I guess already experienced it. But it was very new in the Philippines. We were just about to go into a lockdown. I was sick in bed, and and it felt like a hopeless situation. So I wanted to view it from the lens of hope, and how will this pandemic or this coronavirus be the catalyst for change to make the world a better place. And that's what I said. I think that this is the universe's way of making the world a better place. That's what I said.
Valid. Very valid.
I'd like to think so, but of course, people misconstrued it, and somebody told me their interpretation of what you said is the worst possible interpretation of it. People were saying that I was thinking it was a blessing. I was basically saying I was celebrating that people were dying, to the point that when I got COVID, some people were celebrating it online, saying buti nga, da-da-da, da-da-da. And that hurts. Like, guys, I'm a human being. To begin with, I never meant any harm unto anyone. And now you're wishing ill upon me. Like, look at you. Like, what's happened to the world? And that really was a heartbreaking moment, Nikki, wherein, first of all, I felt that they missed my heart when I said that. But that's okay. It happens a lot. This is social media. But to hear that people were celebrating you being ill and down and almost, I could have died, right? And I just couldn't imagine, like, where is this coming from? Like, where is all this hate coming from? And that's when it was clear to me that I just, like what you're doing now, this is great. It's just clear that we have so much work to do. The light creators, all the people who are coming from a place of empathy and compassion, we are the ones that can understand that other side, because they won't understand us. And we to attack them or engage with them in coming from a negative perspective or negative energy will be useless. So just vibrate from.
We're doing the same thing once we do.
Exactly. So just come from that place of love and understanding. And so I just said to myself, okay, I understand them. I will try my best to understand them. And of course, just release, I had to release. I had to just let go of that. Let go. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also it's very interesting. Well, of course, first of all, I'm so sorry that happened to you. It also boggles my mind that how anyone can wish death upon another person. But that's literally, it's crazy because I have, you're not the only person I know who has been canceled online, and it's just strange to me to see like these mass attacks by who I'm sure are good people or well-intentioned people on people that they don't even know. I'm like, wow, that's my tita, that's my friend. Like, how could you wish death upon someone who you've only ever seen through a screen?
Exactly.
And that's very painful to me. But at the same time, a lot of that made me also think about the privilege that I have to be lucky enough that, I'm in a relatively comfortable situation. I'm very fortunate compared to many different people. And so it's easy to think well and do well when your life
Yes.
circumstance as well. And so I think with that privilege also comes the responsibility to be the people to do the work that spread good energy when there's certainly a lack of it in the world today. That's important.
Very, Nikki, very important. You touched on something really good there. A director friend of mine said that it's a privilege to have hope. And, because other people just can't even hold on to that at this point. And I was just blown away by that. Because for me, it's like hope is what I always hold on to, and to hear that one person is not privileged enough to even have hope in his or her life, that to me is tough. And that's why we're doing this. And then since we are in that privileged position, we have to be the ones to also, we are responsible to give them that hope that we have day in and day out. So.
Just to close off, I want to ask you, what is one thing you'll never forget?
I'd like to remember the love of not just one particular person, but the love that I've experienced from different people. Yeah, that's all, what I will always remember, or perhaps that's what I will always choose to remember.
That's a fantastic way of putting it. Choosing to remember love, I think, is so important in so many relationships, in all the different parts of our life.
Yeah. And then it's, Nikki, I again, this is a privilege I have, or we are somewhat, you're also in the public, you're in the limelight. You're a public figure yourself. I would consider you as that, Nikki. You have a following, you have an audience, and we're so privileged because we don't even have to be in a relationship with these people, and they send us love. I tell you, Nikki, when I was in the hospital, I may not have seen the messages, and though there were dark ones, like I told you earlier, there were a lot of amazing messages and love sent my way, and I believe I really made it because these people really sent out their love and their prayers my way. Yeah. So I'm just eternally grateful. Of course, everything by God's grace.
For sure. Yeah, well, now I'm never going to forget that. That's so true. It's a good point. And I feel like we take love and all this positive energy for granted, for sure. Again, going back to cancel culture, people do take that for granted, when I think life would be a lot less painful and more cohesive if everyone approached things with a little bit more gratitude and love. And that's what I'm hoping. Again, not saying that the pandemic is a blessing, not saying that this mass suffering is a good thing at all. It's far from it.
Not at all.
But I believe it's important to look at situations when you can with a more macro point of view. And I think one thing that I'm already starting to feel, even amongst my friends, is that everyone is a little bit more grateful for the simple things in life. Before, I think, especially when you're a college student, you're very stressed and you want to do everything all at once, and you still don't have all these responsibilities. So I feel like college kids often complain about their institutions, about their experience, and it's funny because now, like this time last year, my friends and I would all be complaining about exams, or like which professor we really didn't like, or what administrative rule we were annoyed at, and now we're all just so excited to go back and be with each other. And I think that's something that the world really needed. So
it's really that awakening, really, of seeing what truly matters in life, and to be grateful for it.